Hey, how's it going, everybody? Tony here. Hope you're doing well. It's Friday morning here. Just wanted to do a quick update. Bitcoin. Going to try and make it as quick as concise as possible. So right now, just to recap on the daily here. Last time I was calling for a move up here to this level potentially, and hopefully holding this area as a way forward to offset this correction down here. But we made it up there to the level, and then we rejected pretty hard here. So a lot's going to depend on the next waves that are put in on the lower time frame. Right now, we're still looking good for a move up. Right now, we hit the zero point 0.9 area. This is good enough for me to kind of call this a sideways or a flat or whatever this might be. So we have that as another contender here. We're going to have to see how this thing develops. We do have some key points to go over here, which I'll dive into when we get into the lower time frames. But for right now, we're still looking okay as far as the more bullish interpretation goes. It's a little scary at this point just because we had such a quick move down. Nothing's been invalidated yet, but I think it's a good idea to kind of consider some other options just in case we do end up breaking this level right here, which is at 65.5-ish. This area has played its good support and resistance in the past, so I'm kind of watching in here to see if it does come down here and break this little high, if we can hold this area. But I'll dive in a little bit deeper when I get in there. So right now at the bigger degree here, if this is some kind of sideways, and this is a zigzag complete at the moment, could be doing a couple things at this point. We could be doing a flat of some kind. We could be doing some kind of, we could still be doing a triangle with the A being the larger complex wave, and then we're just going to tighten up here over the summer until we get a boom up. We still have time if this is the correct count, the 1-2 right here. We've just breached the 1-to-1 in time. As you can see, I have it right here. So we have all this space to kind of fill out. You know, it's not the most ideal to get to 4 times the wave 2, especially since we have this as a possible flat. This should be offset by either a corrective move that's sharp, or we can do a contracting triangle. So anything outside of that is going to get a little suspicious. The longer we put in sideways here, the more I'm going to question that. If this was the complex wave, according to EWP, you can only have one complex wave in a contracting triangle or in a triangle. So this could be taken up by this portion here. Sure, we could finagle it to be something else as far as, making this a normal zigzag. Complex can also mean in time as well. So if this was the complex wave, not in structure, but in time, that could be fulfilling that role as well. So we really have to see how these next little legs pull off. We could be putting in a flat, and we're going to just get a nice dump here, sweep the low, and then head back up. We still have to kind of see how this plays out. It's not quite there yet. And when I dig down here, I'll kind of show you what's going on. So right now, the big level to kind of keep an eye on that we have to break for the bulls is the 71,789 area. It's been rejecting there several times. If we take another stab at it, great. But we have to blast through and then flip it into support. Or what could happen too, since this is a potential wave 5 here, we'd have to consider that if it does breach above, that we're going to get a dump down, just like we did the last time we breached the high. When we initially broke this high, we had a big dump and we started coming in correctively, and that's what's led to this move down here. Was the breach of the high, swept all the liquidity up there, and then we came back to do an internal retracement. So I'm looking for that to happen. So the same thing that happens on larger time frames can happen on smaller time frames. It's all fractal. So that's going to be the same thing I'm watching here. If this is some kind of wave 4 and we're still impulsive and everything's hunky-dory, I want to see it pop up. It could just be a breach before we get another return back into the range. For either a wave 2, we could do one of these, or we're going to be looking for a larger degree correction. It all depends kind of how we play out here. So if we do finish as an impulse up, we'd be watching for the wave 4 again to kind of trigger that, okay, the wave, that this portion or this degree impulse has been completed, and then we're going to have to look for a potential of a larger degree correction. Whether that's internal to 56 or if we're going to be going down for a deeper correction, that remains to be seen at the moment. But for right now, right edge, we need this to stay as a corrective pattern here, stay above this level at 65.6, as it would be the impulsive invalidation level. As long as we stay above that and this stays corrective, I think we could still be putting in some kind of sideways. It's when we turn into an impulse, then that's going to be kind of where things get a little bit questionable as far as, is this going to be some kind of sideways thing? Is this a diagonal? Can start thinking all that scary stuff once an impulse is printed in. Until then, hold out hope that this is just a correction and we're going to be moving up toward the all-time high to at least sweep it. The last thing I wanted to kind of go over here is this base channel. This adds a little bit of sus to the sauce here. We did hit this parallel channel up, which is a most likely target for the wave C of a zigzag. And we hit the 127 to the tick, which can be a most likely target for a wave C. So we have some things working against us. Wave 5s can be kind of weird. Waves 1, maybe this is a wave 1 of, a bigger move up, who knows, but wave 5s can be a little lazy and weird looking as well. But right now, wave 3 is the longest wave here so far. But the 1272, the parallel channel hit here, is kind of calling this thing into question. Again, the bear count that I have still, and it's not going to be invalidated yet, is going to be a diagonal. And then this is the corrective wave move up. We kind of came up higher. Usually a most likely target for a diagonal is going to be 786. This is nice and deep. We got a level here that played as resistance over and over again. I think I went over this in my last video, but we have the resistance level here as well. So a lot of confluence here that could lead us to more down. So I don't blame the bears for kind of jumping on this, but the big show here is going to be how this corrective move plays out now, in my opinion. So we're going to jump down to the lower degrees and take a look at what we got on the 4-hour and 1 hour. All right, now we're down here on the 4-hour. So the initial move that started this whole thing off was this nice potential impulse up, and then the corrective move down into the golden zone, which luckily the market gave us. Was a good entry, was a good setup there. And then we got the bounce out of the golden zone, and we got the move up. So right now the algos are eating pretty good. 236 was hit to the tick. 618 blew past it a little bit, but we got some resistance here as well. We still have a target up here, and we still have the median line up here, but we've been kind of staying away from it. This impulse hasn't been the most swiftest move up here as far as the trend goes. It's been a little bit more lazier than you'd like to see. Going back to the slope mechanics of Elliott Wave, wave A's are going to be swift, wave 3s are going to be swift. So this kind of laziness here in this wave calls into question, okay, is this just because we're kind of in a wave 5 of the larger degree of some sort? Are we in some kind of wave 1? And that's why we're a little bit lazier here. This isn't a super strong move up. The other spot you want to look for, like kind of this laziness, is in a C wave. So again, this does add to the zigzag scenario where this could be the C wave of either a wave 2 or a B of this larger degree potential diagonal, or if we're doing some sideways, this would be another kind of indication that, okay, we're going to be putting in some more sideways here, and to look out for another zigzag potential to be coming. So right now I'm just going to go ahead and switch it over to modified shift. I'm keeping an eye on this as well. This is just basically a channel at this point. Breaking below this would kind of seal the deal where, okay, if we break this level and we break this, then it's a zigzag complete at that point. So let's just look at a couple patterns here. Right now, I think the most obvious is a zigzag. So right now we could have a zigzag in. It's all about this next move. This could be a wave 1 of a diagonal. So let's say we do put in a correction down to here, a nice zigzag. If this stays as a zigzag, we could have a couple setups that we can mutually benefit off of if it's going to stay bullish. So right now We have a zigzag up. If we put in another zigzag here, there's a bunch of different things that this can be. This kind of setup could be a diagonal, 1, 2 of a diagonal, WX for a complex correction, or a double zigzag, triple zigzag, what have you. So this can give us a couple different scenarios, and we can benefit off of this either way. If you're a hodler of Bitcoin, we want to see it go up. The trader in me doesn't care. If it's going to show me clarity, then I'm going to try and take advantage of that. So let's say we do get some kind of zigzag or double zigzag here. There's a couple ways we can kind of play it. One's going to be we look for the wave C to end in a place of confluence. So for me, right now, that area of confluence I'm keeping an eye out for is going to be this spot here. We got some nice support resistance levels. We got the golden zone right here as well. So there's a lot of things kind of adding up. If we finish out as a impulse down, I'm going to be looking for a move up, a corrective move up, to play the wave short. So we finish as an impulse, looking for a correction up, and then I'll be looking to play this wave down. And then again, it's all on how this moves. If we go down, then I'm in for the 3 or whatever this is. If we start going sideways like that, then I'm going to start suspecting that we're in a C wave and start looking for a long in this area, in the area of confluence, which would be for me, again, this area between 64.5 and 65.5. So that's one setup I'm kind of watching right now. This turns into a nice looking impulse here. We get to move down. I'm going to be watching for a corrective wave up to play. So if we finish the impulse down here and we get a nice impulse up, I'm going to be watching for a correction back to an area of confluence here to play for the C wave. And then as soon as it reaches that area, I'm going to be watching how this plays out. And then I'm going to be watching for this in an area of confluence as well to play it short. So there's a lot of things that can be done here when we have some nice clarity. If you have a big mess like this over here, sometimes things can get a little bit iffy and not really worth trading. You can make content off of it and label it however you want, but at the end of the day, the trade is a little more risky. That's why having this as, even if it's an impulse down, I don't really care if it's the A or a C, or A or a 1. If we get that corrective move up, I'm going to try and play that down, and vice versa at every single degree. So that's what I'm looking for here. I'm looking for some nice trade setups. However this wants to develop, like I said, as long as we stay above here and we stay corrective and we're heading up to the moon, the hodler in me doesn't really care how we get there. But trader, I'm looking for some clarity at this point. And that's hopefully going to come either with this completing as an impulse or a corrective move. That's kind of the basics of what I'm looking for at the 4 hour. All right, we're down here on the 1 hour. I cleaned the chart up just a little bit. I just wanted to show you guys my thoughts on the 1 hour now, the smaller time frame. The first thing I wanted to show you here is this channel. If we bring this down, we can see that this has been playing as some good support resistance level. Again, I like to use areas. Just kind of keep reminding me that things don't have to go to the tick. We can mess around. The market can be kind of messy, so we want to give it a little bit of leeway. We're not perfect. The market's not perfect. Right now, we can see the channel, the median line of the channel here has been playing as support and resistance, this area. So I'm watching for that to continue. Even if we put it up here, you can see that we got a little bit of support and resistance as well in the median line. So there's a couple ways to play it. That looks pretty good too. So depending on where you want to put your channel here sideways, at the end of the day, we're pretty much stuck in a range. And what that means for Elliott Wave is that we're doing a corrective, we're doing some kind of sideways correction, and we really want to see the breakout. We don't want to trade the middle of the range, all that kind of fun stuff. But at the larger degree, it's not a horrible idea if we can find some clarity in here. The longer this correction goes, the more ugly and jagged it's going to get. So hopefully, if we keep moving sideways, we can still find some clarity within this range. Beyond that, I think what I want to see here at the smallest degree, at the hard right edge, we have to kind of figure out what this is. Right now, this is looking good for a zigzag up. As long as this level holds 65.5, we have potential for an impulse. Breaking this down, If we end up swiping that, we can go for a zigzag, which could be the 1 of a diagonal, could be the Y of a double zigzag, could be just a zigzag complete, and we're moving down. So this level 65.5 is going to be one indication that, and a piece of clarity is, taking some counts off the table. But again, when some counts come off the table, others come on. So I'm going to be watching that level, obviously, to see kind of if that gets broken. It just has to get breached. It doesn't have to close or anything like that. We just have to break that level. So if we end up doing that, then impulse is off the table, and we'd have to lead toward that this is a zigzag complete and look at the larger degree of where a zigzag could be a subwave. So right here on the hard right edge, I'm really watching this and how this develops. If we end up getting a corrective down, great, there's still a chance. If this is A, B, C, and this ends up finding support here and moves up, the impulse would be off the table, and this is kind of deep for a wave 4, so this is a bit of hopium. We could end up finishing as a zigzag down here and then move up for like a triangle situation and then pop up, and we'd still be within the rules of Elliott Wave, but we're getting close. Let's see where we're even at. So right now we are right at the 50, and then we're at the wave 4 of the previous degree as well, depending on how you count this. But we're kind of in the area, the most likely target for a wave 4 at the larger degree. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we got this one, of course, that we're looking at now. And I think this is the more likely at the moment. It's all about these levels. 65.5 is going to be the key. At this level, right now, we're finding resistance at the level of 67.5. So if we're going to kind of dig our way out of this, we need to start moving. This is kind of how I have it labeled at the moment. Could be a couple different ways, but right now we're looking like it's a potential impulse down. This could still be an ABC. That's all going to be on the next moves. If we start getting a completed impulse down here, we really have to consider that, okay, something else is going on. The trend may be turning on us. So at this point, if we get a completed impulse down, something like that, then guess what? We're going to be looking for this move back up to an area of confluence to play the thing short. Depending on whatever method you have, we got a couple things right in this area: support, resistance, fair value gap, golden zone right here. We'll have to wait for this to kind of complete to get a more precise setup, but that's what I'm looking for now. Is if this completes as an impulse down, the next move is waiting for a retrace, finding confluence, and shorting it. Out here on the daily, just want to kind of do a little recap of what I'm looking for. So on the daily here, the bearish possibility, we got a diagonal in, a zigzag up, and we're headed down for another C or 3 or whatever it could be. We can only find diagonals, leading diagonals in wave A or wave 1. So it's either an A, B, C, or it's a 1, 2, 3. So depending on how this plays out, if this is a diagonal, that would be one kind of thing to consider, is how we move down. If we start moving all lazy, then again, we would lead C. Straight down would be a 3. So that would be the most bearish possibility I can see at the moment. The other is that this is a zigzag family move here. And then we have another zigzag family up to at least the 90%. So we could be putting in some sideways. This could still be a triangle at this point. This could still open up the door for many possibilities, depending on how you count this. If you count this as a complex correction, then we can only be really putting in a flat at this point. If it's not a complex correction in your mind, this could be the A wave of a triangle, and we're still going sideways. We still have a lot of time here compared to the wave 2, if I have that labeled correctly. So we could just still be putting in a correction, which would be the bullish scenario overall at the end of the day at the larger degree. We'll zoom in the 4 hour. Down here at the 4 hour, again, if this is some kind of a zigzag up, I'm watching for this to finish as an impulse down, and then I'm watching for a correction up. I'm going to try and play all of these steps. So if this is a completed impulse up, I'm going to wait for the wave A to complete, then I'm going to be looking for a correction there. Depending on how this plays out, if this bounces up and we go to heaven, that's great. If we end up going sideways, then I'm going to be looking to short. So that would be another spot to kind of look for, another entry there as a potential wave B or 2 or whatever. I don't care. It's a zigzag correction, or if it turns out to be a flat, I'll be looking for those most likely targets as well. And then we're going to head down. I'll be looking for either a C down or a 3 down there as well. Depending on how this plays out, then I'll be looking for another wave or another C3 to play out the other direction. All right, and you can kind of see how this gets fractal, however you want to play it. This can get fractal. We're always looking for C's and 3s, depending on which degree you like to trade and what you think actually is going on in the context of the larger degree. So impulses are your best friend. If this completes as an impulse, then always watching that correction for the next wave down. So that's what I'm watching for on the 4 hour here. I don't care, again, how this plays out. I'm looking for a C3 play at multiple degrees. All right, down here at the 1 hour, what I'm really looking for is how this area completes here. If we're going to get an impulse down, then that's going to kind of kill the potential for this being an impulse up. If we hold above 65.5, then there's still a potential that we could be putting in some kind of sideways up here if this finishes as a zigzag. If we start going sideways, then there's still a potential for a pop up. But then if we get a pop up above this level, I'm looking for it to drop back down. But we'll have to see how that plays out when we get there. Again, this is kind of the naked chart. This is what I want to see in the price action. We're always going to be looking for confluences and ways to enter and protect ourselves and stops within the market structure, and always try and look for clarity in the counts at whichever degree you're trading at. That's just what I think. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, subscribe, show me some love. If you have any questions, concerns, definitely hit me up. Thanks for watching. Later.